see. Okay, hello everybody. This is Charles Cook here again today, and today I'm joined by Josh Brooks. We're going to talk about property rights at a local level and how local governments interfere with what you can do on your property and everything. And Josh got a very interesting story, and so I invited him on today to tell us his story, and then we'll talk about it. So Josh, go ahead and tell us your story about what you're dealing with here locally.
Yeah, first of all, Charles, I want to thank you for trying to help spread the word and fight the good fight for the people of Tennessee. And basically that's what this boils down to. Is this I believe is bigger than myself and bigger than you, and it comes down to what rights do we have as individuals truly living in the United States of America, which is supposed to be a free country, one of which, like you and I talked about before, that I shed blood for to defend this nation and the rights of which we stand upon. So of course everyone's aware of COVID, and when that hit, I was actually a lead at a retail store, a key holding lead, which is kind of like a management position. And I had to step down because we lost our child care. We had a baby that was, I think she was probably close to 1 or less than 1 at the time. I can't remember exactly when COVID truly went into effect, but she just turned 2 on the 3rd of July, and we lost our child care. And my wife got sent home to work, and she works for the government. So, it didn't make sense for her to have to step down. So I stepped down and came home to help out with the baby. Well, with me being a veteran, I can't really have a lot of idle time. It's just not good for my mental health. And plus, my work ethic doesn't allow that. So after a little while, Stella got old enough to be a little bit easier to take care of for Megan during the day. And I was just trying to figure out what I was going to do. Well, I'd always enjoyed washing and detailing cars growing up. I tried to keep a nice car. I would detail my parents' car, and my aunt always had a nice car, so I would detail hers. So I said, wonder if I could just do that. So I started the business, just, nothing really big. And it took off. It was successful. Named it Patriot Detailing, had a friend actually design a logo. And then I looked into state laws, and effective of 2020, I wasn't going to need a business license because it was late in the year of when the company started. So I didn't have to apply for one. But come 2021, I did legally apply for a business license, obtain that. So I have a legal business with the tax. I'm not trying to skim off anybody. But lo and behold, I'm out in my driveway one day detailing a vehicle, and the city pulls up ordinances. And I'm like, I didn't think anything that they were there dealing with me and what I was doing. Obviously, they were there for a reason.
This is the code enforcement officer, right?
Codes enforcement officer. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And he explains himself, Jonathan Maxey, super nice guy, very professional. And can't say enough good about him, really. He has a job to do, whether he agrees or disagrees with it. That's neither here nor there. That's a different subject on a different day, but it's his job. Come to find out, somebody had called in on me saying that I was running a business out of the house. But what's funny to me is that if you drive by my house on any given day, all it looks like is that we have 3 cars as a family, or that we have 2 cars and a boat, because I detail boats as well. I don't have signage in my yard. I don't have signage in my house. So there's no way to tell that I'm running a business. I don't have cars and boats piled up in the yard or the driveway, because I do 1 vehicle a day or 1 boat a day. That way it keeps it from being something I don't want it to be. I enjoy it. It keeps me busy, keeps my hands moving. And it's just an additional income for our family that we rely upon. So I was really confused by what was going on. But somebody had called in knowingly that it was a violation. And the way that you could tell is that they watched me every day, took pictures of me, submitted them to codes, and which was really blew my mind, honestly, that somebody cared enough about me washing a boat or a vehicle in my driveway, my own driveway, that it bothered them that much, and that they cared about me that much. So I asked him, I was just like, so you mean to tell me that I can't do this? He's like, no, it's against the code. And I was like, so what's the difference between me going house to house and washing a vehicle a day in people's driveways? They didn't really have an answer for that. They couldn't tell me. Just that the fact that I was violating an ordinance that the city set forth. And I called their his boss, Mr. Steve Nielsen, and told him the story. And he was like, well, I understand what you're saying, but we got to draw the line somewhere. And I was like, well, what's the line and why are you drawing it? I said, this is, as far as I know, a free country. I have a legal business license. I'm intend on paying taxes. So I don't understand where the problem lies. He's like, well, we as a city set forth ordinance, he said, now you can appeal that, apply for a home occupation license, but we'll deny it. And I said, so what's the point of me applying for it if you're going to deny it and not even give me an opportunity for that? He didn't really have an answer for that either. So I started looking up. The Morristown Country Club actually sits in the same residential zonage that my home sits on. Mm-hmm. They didn't zone it any differently. So I called codes about that. Well, they allow by application and by consideration churches, synagogues, country clubs, things of that nature, etc., which I understand, So why is it that I can't be considered by application? I'd automatically be denied. What's the difference between me and a country club? Their water bill is higher. My water bill is higher, but I pay it. The city's not paying it. I pay it. So the message that I'm really trying to get across is that are we free? And why is the city allowed to do this? Tennessee state law doesn't prohibit it.
Right.
So I actually am working with people to take this before Tennessee legislature to rewrite the law next year when they reconvene that doesn't allow cities to impose these laws on startup businesses making less than X amount of dollars per year. People just trying to make a living, because what really bothers me is that you're taking food off of my table. You're taking food off of my children's table. I don't know why somebody had vested interest in me and what I was doing as far as washing a vehicle in my driveway. And like I said, if it was any other person that just randomly drove by, you couldn't tell I'm running a business. It just looks like I'm washing a car in my driveway. Right. So I do mobile detailing as well. I don't do it all here. I do wash stuff here at the house occasionally, but also I'm washing a vehicle today, honestly, just to be honest. And it's the first vehicle I've washed at my house in 2 weeks. So the only way you could tell that I run a business out of my house is knowingly that the vehicle changes that I'm washing, right, or that boat changes that I'm washing. Anybody else just randomly driving by, it doesn't look like a business. It's a well-kept home, a well-kept yard. There's nothing that bothers anybody. The runoff is in my yard in a drain. I just really, for the life of me, can't figure out how the city of Morristown can impose and step across the line of individual freedoms and property rights and freedoms of individuals in this country. I don't understand how. And I'm with the people in the city on the part that I don't want a business in my neighborhood, so to speak, where there's traffic in and out all day, different vehicles, cars and stuff all over the place, signs, storefronts. I agree with that, but that's not what's happening here. So this isn't just about me. This is about somebody that has an idea, an entrepreneurship idea that says, hey, I can make a living doing this and it's better for me and my family. And I'm going to start it up at home and try to grow. Because believe me, I would love to have a detail shop. I can do more in a shop. I can apply ceramic coatings that require a garage, because you want the vehicle to be completely dust free, absence of all types of minerals and oxides. Right. But if I break a car down like that in my driveway, especially in spring and early summer, 5 minutes later, it's covered in pollen again. Right. So I'm limited. But yes, I would love to have a shop, but the overhead is so expensive for somebody just trying to get started up.
Right. And let me interrupt you here, if you don't mind. Yeah, and that's one of the things that I think is being left out here is number one, if you're paying sewer, and you are paying sewer on the water that you use because it's off of your water bill. So if you chose to move to go to a detail shop in the county, they're losing that money. And trust me, the city of Morristown's got one of the highest sewer rates in the state of Tennessee.
Right.
So they're losing that money if you did that. So even at that, your property rights, when Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, he said life, liberty, and he first put property. Look, if people don't have property rights, then you don't have liberty and freedom.
No.
And
Nor the pursuit of happiness.
right, exactly. So you're trying to pursue your happiness and support your family, and do what you want to do to keep you busy and keep you happy there in your own home. And this is ridiculous, is what they're doing. And cities shouldn't be allowed to do that. Now, if someone was to move into a subdivision where there's a homeowners association and you sign that contract when you buy your house, that, then that's on that person. But
Right.
if there's nothing like that in where you're at or where I'm at, then the city should not be coming out imposing these things. They're completely wrong. And what they're
Correct.
doing
I agree.
and trampling people's rights to their property. And, I do have a problem for myself. I can't speak for you. I do have a problem for somebody saying, well, I'm just doing my job, because if your job is doing the wrong thing, then it's still wrong. So,
Right.
I get that, but those people have to work too and feed their family, and, but, when I seen what was going on with you here, I just like, yeah, this is wrong, and we need.
Well,
we need-
speaking on that about the wrong is wrong, I actually asked Mr. Maxey, because he's a former police officer here in Morristown.
Right.
I said, Mr. Maxey, I said, do you not have officer discretion here, just as you did as an officer of the law? And he said, well, he said, I'm being told by my boss that I have to come out here and do this. So, like I said, I can't speak for Mr. Maxey, but to me, I'm not bothering anybody. I'm not hurting anybody. And it's like when he was out here, I said, Mr. Maxey, I said, just stop for a second and listen. There was chainsaws running, lawnmowers running, other pressure washers running. We live in a neighborhood where people, upkeep their yards and upkeep their vehicles and upkeep their homes. It's not like I'm out here running a gas powered generator and everything I have is electric. I just can't figure it out.
Yeah.
Somebody evidently has more time on their hands than I do to sit around and watch what I do, and way more concerned with what I'm doing. Maybe they should apply for the city ordinance job. I don't know.
Right. Well, and here's the thing. People say, well, he's detailing cars out of his yard. People might look at it like one vehicle at a time. You don't have a car full of yard full of cars. There's a street lined up with cars. But so let's say someone works in a nail salon and they're going to retire, but they decide to do a couple nail jobs a week for extra income. Hey, this same thing applies.
Absolutely.
A hairdresser that is going to retire, or somebody in their family gets sick and they decide they're going to work from home. This same ordinance applies.
Absolutely.
Taxes, somebody doing taxes, doing income taxes or bookkeeping for someone out of their home. The same ordinance applies. What if someone is mowing yards on the side? They've got a trailer they pull behind their vehicle with a lawnmower or two on it, and they mow yards, and someone's complaining about them running a business out of their home. It's the same thing. And people,
I spoke to an individual that happened to, is that, their home is their home base where they keep their stuff, but yet they got in trouble for violating an ordinance because of that, even though they're not mowing the other people's yards in their own yard. I know you can't do that,
right.
But to get on the level of what we're talking about here, they leave every day and go mow a yard somewhere else. But since that's their home base and where they store their stuff, they weren't allowed to.
Right.
And speaking about nails and hair salons, the way the ordinance is written, it really handcuffs you almost to where the city of Morristown doesn't allow any type of home occupation.
Right.
Maybe what benefits them, such as the country club or the, whatever, that's neither here nor there either. But the way it's written, and I can't quote it verbatim, but it basically speaks on anything that increases your utility or water bill is not permitted.
Yeah.
So what are you supposed to do? What if you know, if you ran a hair salon, you're going to wash people's hair. That increases your water bill. That's out. So I don't really understand how the city can do this. To me, it completely violates and goes against the Declaration of Independence and what we stand for as Americans and as Tennesseans.
Well, and the reason why the city can do it is because people are not educated on it, and so it slides under the radar. They put their codes enforcement out there, making it sound like, well, we don't want people with grass 2 feet tall in their neighborhood, and they go out and they see the signs for that, but they don't understand how people are losing their property rights through issues like this, because it never gets reported in the news. It doesn't get reported in the newspaper. You don't see Channel 10 or Channel 8 out of Knoxville come up here to cover something like this. And, so nobody knows about it. That's why I wanted to discuss this with you and put it out there for people to know, because, they're worried about what Washington's going to do to infringe on your property rights. They don't realize what their local government's doing. And
Right.
the local government is right here to check on you every day to see what you're doing. And I want to make people aware of it, because it's not just about you. It's about a lot of other people in this community that this can affect. And I appreciate you standing up and talking with me about this and everything. And so what's going on as far as what's the next step?
Well, the next step is I've taken as much business as I can mobile into other people's homes. And luckily we have a lot of good people here. Just plug into their water spigot or their outlet and wash their cars, which at their home. But I have court July 26th over this issue at City Municipal Court. And I plan on going and fighting it, just to, my company name is Patriot Detailing. And I spoke to my dad and I said, because at first I kind of got disheartened about it and was down and felt beat up. But then I said, how can I have a company called Patriot Detailing if I'm not going to be a patriot myself and stand up for what I believe is right in the freedoms of this country? So I'm fighting them. I'm going against it because I believe they're completely infringing upon me and anybody else that would be interested in trying to make a living as an entrepreneur, but can't afford the overhead to step outside of their home in the beginning. And you're just talking about city government versus Washington and big government. I believe wholeheartedly that that's why Tennessee law doesn't prohibit what I'm doing, because that's a bigger government. There's more eyes on them. And therefore they know they can't get by with that because it is illegal, really, what's happening to me, I believe.
Right.
But the city can impose it because, like you said, nobody's aware and it just kind of slides under and, it benefits them somehow in some regard. I don't know. But they'll go in and rezone something if it benefits them. They'll place something somewhere and then rezone that area, right, or make loopholes about, well, we can allow this by permit, but we're not going to allow that by permit. We're going to automatically deny you. So where do we as the people say, where do we draw the line at? Since they're drawing a line, where do we draw the line? And to me, this is where I'm drawing the line is, I have rights, I have freedoms that people have given their life for, and I don't want that to be in vain.
Right. And they only have the power that we let them have. And that's at all levels of government. And who it benefits is the people who's doing commercial real estate. And I don't know if you've noticed the last city election, if you drove through town, there was a lot of incumbents that had signs on commercial real estate property around here. So it really benefits those people. So,
right.
So you're going to court, and here's the thing that I would say, and for me to say to the judge, is just like when you were in the service, the military, and you raised your right hand and took an oath to the Constitution. That judge did too, and he didn't take an oath to the city ordinance. He took an oath to the Constitution. So I'm hoping somehow, deep down inside, this guy has a heart and a mind to do the right thing and say that they're violating your property rights with this.
I'm hoping that too, Charles. But the scary thing is that he's employed and put in position by the city council, who writes the ordinances of which I'm infringing upon. So it could go either way. You know, if he, I don't know who's going to be presiding over the case. But like you said, is he going to stick to the Constitution of the United States of America, which he swore to uphold and defend, or going to lean towards, you know, the other way of, well, they put me in place, they can take me out of place. What's important to you, I guess, is at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know,
well, we, the people, can take them out of place too. We have our options as the people to remove city council members. And, you know, we came very close to that here a few months ago, but you know, there's things we can do. But the number one thing is we got to let people know what's going on, to wake them up to see what's going on. And I appreciate you stepping up and being the patriot to do that as it goes along with your detailing business, Patriot Detailing, to step up and say, okay, enough's enough. I'm going to fight this.
Yeah. And with all that being said, you know, I love this country. I firmly believe we have the best country in the world. But we can always get better. If we become content and complacent, then we can run into situations like this. So, you know, to me, that's what that flag stands for, is that we never settle. We keep moving forward. We've came a long way from where we began as a country. And I hope we keep moving in the right direction to benefit the citizens of this country. And just keep fighting the good fight for the people of the United States of America, and for Tennessee, and for Morristown. And hopefully it goes well. But I'm not, if it don't, you know, that's not the end of Patriot Detailing. So that's okay too.
Yeah. So I tell you what, stay on the line here. I'm going to stop this recording. Unless you've got anything else you want to say.
No, I think I'm good. Maybe one last thing is for the people out there, and, you know, come election time and the polls, and maybe you want to think about really what's going on is why doesn't the country as a whole have these laws? Why doesn't the state as a whole have these laws? Why does the county not impose these type of laws and restrictions? We get down to the smallest and simplest form of government, and yet they're the ones that impose it. Why is that?
It's because I can tell you, your county sheriff, if the county sheriff was out here doing this, people would vote him out of office. The chief of police serves at the luxury of the city council, and they tell him what to do, and so they impose those laws on him. And to me, I'll just be blunt with you, the worst enemy of a police officer is politicians, and they're the ones who create these laws that send them out there to enforce it.
Yep. Well, and, you know, I don't know if what I'm doing, I think what I'm doing is civil. I've not seen an actual law officer yet, thank goodness.
Right.
Just a codes enforcement officer. Now, you know, whether, you know, that can be interpreted different ways of whether what I'm doing is violation of law or by civil. You know, to me, it's just a civil thing. But I guess the way you read it certain times, it could be a lawful violation. But that doesn't deter me from fighting the good fight. Just because something's law doesn't make it moral and just. And just because something is immoral or unjust doesn't make it illegal, which is kind of another weird point of where we stand sometimes as a country. But
okay. All right. I'll end this, and like I said, stay on the line.
All right. Thank you very much, Charles. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.